Hello to everyone dialing in and welcome to our Next Gen App Dev and Delivery panel. I'm Mike, the organizer of this panel, and I will be handing over to my moderator, Mike Wilson, shortly. Just a note on timekeeping, we'll be ending the webinar at 1:45, at which time we'll be heading over to the digital hangout. So over to you, Mike.
Thanks very much, Mike. Hello, everybody. I hope you're well. Welcome to TechCity Connect, a day of tech, art, and culture brought to you by Ditto, the B2B tech marketing practice. You're listening to our panel discussion on next-gen app dev and delivery, the new tools accelerating building and delivering solutions to capital markets. The demand for new apps in capital markets is off the charts, with firms racing to create a competitive advantage. What's driving this demand, and how can you accelerate your development and delivery process? Today, we'll get the answers to these questions and more and explore the exciting new tools designed to give your business the edge. But firstly, some introductions. I'm Mike Wilson, CEO and founder of Ditto. I have the pleasure of moderating today's session. I'm joined this afternoon by Stephen Murphy, CEO and co-founder of Genesis, and Alexandra Boyle, director of OpenFin. Good morning and good afternoon, Stephen and Alexandra.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having us.
So this is truly international. I'm in Dublin, Alexandra, you're in London, and Stephen, you're in Miami. So, okay, folks, just a little on me. Some quick introductions. I've spent 30 years working in the sharp end of finance and tech and media, both in Asia, the US, and Europe. I started off as a programmer with Arbat and Winter Partners, actually programming in Kuala Lumpur, UBS, Bankers Trust, and Deutsche Bank, and I founded Ditto in 2008. And we're an award-winning marketing and communication business practice focused on dedicated to financial technology. I'm joined with Stephen Murphy, who graduated with a first in a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and has held senior business and C-level technology positions for some of the world's leading investment banks, including Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, HSBC, and BTG Pactual. During his career, he's lived in Sao Paulo, New York, Hong Kong, and London. Stephen has managed teams of over 250 people, technology budgets of over $100 million, and supported business lines with over $500 million of revenue. Stephen also has led, from a client perspective, key multi-million-dollar contracts negotiations with major software vendors such as Microsoft, Oracle, SunGard, Murex, Calypso, Charles River, and Fidessa. Alexandra Boyle builds relationships with the world's largest banks, asset managers, and vendors. She acts as a conduit for collaboration and innovation across OpenFin strategic clients, helping to transform legacy operational models. Alexandra brings to life a client's strategic vision by understanding their business objectives and can easily identify suitable complementary fintech vendors and applications available to the OpenFin ecosystem. Prior to OpenFin, Alexandra was a product specialist for fixed connectivity, market data, and high-frequency trading at NICE Technologies. So hello, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be moderating today, and thank you so much for taking part in today's discussion and sharing your insights. So I hope we're all strapped in comfortably. Look, a note to the audience, folks, this session is being recorded. You can enter any questions you have in the chat room and to go to webinar side panel. And my colleague Mike will be helping, because in true innovative style, Stephen and Alexandra have got some video they're going to share with us. We're going to have some fun. So there will be some kind of dipping in and dipping out with Mike kind of firing up some video. So to start this afternoon, I'm going to give a short overview of the topic. I'll then ask their views to Stephen and to Alexandra on drivers, that's industry adoption to both Genesis and OpenFin. We're then going to take a little bit a look at the inner workings of Genesis and OpenFin's platforms and ecosystems. Then both of the folks will share with us some specific use cases. As I said, there will be time for audience questions. So if you have any questions, please do submit them. And we'll sum up at the end with some closing comments. And then we can all head over to our digital hangout, where if you'd like to actually meet Stephen and Alexandra, we've got an online hangout where everyone's hanging out. You can have a chat, post some questions, and really dig into this intriguing topic. So a short overview of the topic. Innovation in systems and software has completely changed the way that capital markets operate. From accelerated processes to regulatory compliance, new software has given firms the ability to drive growth, whether operating more effectively on existing businesses or opening doors to new opportunities. However, the challenge now is how to increase capacity. For every advance, there are plenty of projects left on the back burner because there simply aren't enough resources to deliver them. What makes the situation even more frustrating is that firms often already know the solutions they need in place to respond effectively to shifting business needs. They just can't implement these new platforms in a time frame that keeps them ahead of the competition. Unfortunately, the traditional IT process isn't quick enough to meet this growing demand for new apps. So that's why everyone's trying to answer the same question. How do you speed up the development and delivery process to create the apps you need and deliver them where exactly how you need them? So I think next slide, please. I think so how are you, Alexandra, Stephen? Are you ready? Should we kick in?
All good, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, super. So I think the first section here is we'd really like to explore the business needs driving industry adoption. So I'm going to start with you, Stephen, first. Next slide, please. You've put some thoughts together to share with our audience around, for Genesis, this four-step process you see on drivers and industry adoption for low-code application development that you're delivering.
Yeah, Mike, thank you for, obviously, firstly, thanks for having us and thanks for hosting. Yeah, when we look at things, we generally look at things that having really four key stages to the process. The first stage, as you guys can see on the top left, are the business drivers. Well, we see multiple business drivers, but I would say right now in the current environment and pre-2020 as well, three key areas was really reducing operational costs. Everyone's looking at their profitability, reducing operational risk. That's mainly down to manual processes. And the third piece is really enhancing their business capacity, capability, and also that ultimately looks a lot like revenue. To really have that first stage, we want to make sure if you really want to get adoption to next generation app development and delivery, you ultimately need very clear business drivers with the different business stakeholders and sponsors. We generally find when we look at those, whether or not it's a new platform, completely building a new type of, let's say, electronic trade platform, through to replacing a legacy system, which has a high cost and has a lot of operational risk, that there's constraints to that. Most of the things we see is really the time to market, the cost of the delivery, and ultimately internal capacity. But you can see there's really 6 other constraints there. Finally, we look at how has that impacted the organization. So what you'll see a lot is either there may be a lot of EUC, end user computing. So you'll see things there like spreadsheets, which end users maybe have developed, or some quick work that the IT organization has developed to solve a immediate problem, but that has a cost associated to it. It's got a cost of maintenance. It could be dependent on just 1 or 2 people who have got the knowledge and IP of how to manage what's been delivered. So when we look at those things, once you combine all of them, we Genesis look at, we've obviously got our low-code application platform, which has a number of business components, underlying microservices-based technology, and then we ultimately work with our clients to build a solution. So yeah, we really think when we think about this next generation app delivery and development, we really try and put it into those 4 stages. And that means not just from a technology perspective, but from a resource, people, leadership, business stakeholder perspective, you really need buy-in as well. It's not just about the technology delivery, it's about the people aspect to delivering technology as well, and people's commitment to making that change. So yeah, Mike, that's
super. Let's build on that. So I think for a lot of folk, those business drivers of, I want to start something new, I need to enhance, I got to improve my client servicing or reduce costs, adapt to ever-changing sea of regulation, and to see those constraints are all too familiar with folk. Vendor packages too big, big inflexible legacy systems, they can't really deliver. But you're going in to break this cycle. So you're breaking the cycle. So actually, folk, if you take this new approach to development, this new approach to solving out these problems, from the pieces to the right here, which cost, risk, and enhancing, in these kind of COVID times we're living in now, Stephen, are people rebalancing their view now of these business drivers and constraints? Does that make more adoption more likely now? Are people accelerating their thinking with you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's really 2 interesting things we've seen from this. I think with the pandemic around the world right now, we've seen new platforms that starting new businesses. They see opportunity because they think that, and don't just think, know that there's got to be a new electronic way of doing business. So it's not just telephone calls anymore. It's actually, because everyone is working remotely, they can be on the end of the phone call, but that's from a mobile phone. It's not a trading desk. So one area we see a lot of growth in, and we're actually on the process right now of developing a new electronic trading platform for a top tier global investment bank, which is really exciting for us. And during the coronavirus, they put even more emphasis on that because trading volumes have increased. Meanwhile, they need to actually make that business viable. They need to be operationally efficient. That's one example. But a second example actually is, again, in the pandemic, more people working remotely at home. and things like end user computing are not capable of working in that way. So let's give a very simple example. If you had a spreadsheet on your work desktop in the office, there's lots of things that your work desktop has which you may not have or do not have at home. So it may have access to an internal source of market data. It may have access to an internal in-house built piece of legacy technology database. And it may have access to vendor technology. All of those things completely changed when we went to a global BCP, business continuity planning, the majority of the workforce, if not nearly all of the workforce, working from home. So whether or not it was a complete new platform, a complete new electronic trading platform, which one didn't exist to replace the manual aspects of the finance industry's workflow, all the way through to something which was electronic, something which was spreadsheets, but that just didn't work in a remote work situation. So those would be two really good examples of what's driving and accelerating, to your point, kind of next generation application development and delivery.
Super, thank you. I think it leads me nicely, Alexandra, to you, to setting the scene on OpenFin, your platform, your innovation and adoption. So we've heard from Stephen here about an insatiable appetite for software. Firms now, actually, when BCP becomes BAU, developing even more software. So maybe introduce OpenFin for our audience and your innovation in capital markets.
Yeah, absolutely. And first off, thank you so much for having us. The Ditto team always produces such great content, so really appreciative to be able to participate today. So OpenFin. So for anyone on the audience today that works in a financial institution, there's a very high probability that OpenFin is running inside that organization. And that's really because OpenFin is one of those widely used technologies that no one knows about, or maybe you've heard of it, but you're not really sure what it is. So to your point, Mike, it'd be great to give a quick overview. So, I really think using a phone analogy, kind of our consumer world, does the best job. So if you think of your phone, if you think of your mobile device, you probably have over 60 apps on your phone. And those apps can get onto your phone really easily. They're secure, they can upgrade themselves, and they can communicate with one another. They can share context across your phone with the other applications. So the example I have here is a bit of a pre-COVID-19 world workflow, unfortunately. I should probably replace it with sharing a Spotify playlist to Instagram or something.
Yeah, Zoom Hangouts, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But in this instance, you'll see, you have a meeting coming up, maybe you're in a calendar application, you click an address, and that click launches a specialized map application, launches Google Maps, right? And brings with it the address. And from Maps, you could book an Uber. And from Uber, you could share your location with your colleagues or friends. Really, these are examples of 4 applications built by completely different companies sharing context over the OS on your phone to streamline your workflow. And that's really what OpenFin provides to a financial desktop, that secure layer where applications run like native installed platforms and have the ability to upgrade themselves, but most importantly, can share context with other applications on the same desktop, whether those are web apps or native apps, right? So that's my OpenFin overview. So now your main question was really about drivers, right?
But I think it's important for audience here as well, to emphasize this isn't stuff running in a browser. This is running natively, high performance, high interoperability. It's a accelerated messaging busing delivery mechanism to get apps to the point of need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the drivers of that really is the move from a tech standpoint. It's the move to web technologies and all the agility and benefits you get from making that decision, right? And then it really becomes, what a financial application requires. And it's really kind of these points I put down in the bottom left. These applications have to be high performance web architectures that are processing massive data sets. We're talking real-time execution. So, a cloud strategy, maybe some microservices, all of these really, really great tools as part of your architecture. These apps can't run in a browser. It's just not how a trading platform or a risk system should live. They need to be multi-window, multi-monitor, workspace management. They have to be interoperable, right? They need to be
These are the most high
upgradable. They have to
performing
be
environments in the
secure.
world. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're mission critical, right? And so, you know, browsers are just not conducive to that. You know, you need security. It sounds like the most obvious bullet, right? But it's really why OpenFin's been so widely adopted. And then the final thing, which I think is really, really interesting, and Stephen kind of brought this up, is, you know, you need to make users more efficient. And that means the right data at the right time, you know, having these integrated workflows. So, you know, the phone analogy I used, that I kind of continuously use, instead of Google Maps and Uber, we're talking about, you know, real-time pricing platforms and OMSs and CRMs and trading platforms. So now I'm really excited because now that the OpenFin's been so widely deployed and there's so many applications, now the real driver is all of the easy integrations we facilitate across these apps and the business value that you get.
Great, super, thank you very much. And folks, Stephen, Alexander, we're getting lots of questions coming in. So folks, in the web browser there, in the GoToWebinar chat room, please drop your questions in there because we're getting some real great questions coming in, which we will get time to hear or in the digital hangout. So if you go to the next slide, please. I want us to take a little bit of a deeper look, and this is going to be some fun here because we have some presentation material and we also have some video to share too. So if we head to the next slide, please. So Stephen, we're going to start with you now. We've got a video here, runs a couple of minutes, which my colleague Mike will start. And Stephen, I think you're going to voice over the video and have a chat about an introduction and an appreciation of the Genesis platform.
Perfect.
And you can just unmute.
Hey, Mike. So no, thanks so much, Mike. Yeah, so if you look at Genesis, it's worthwhile understanding we have a low-code application platform, and we built this over 8 years ago to reduce the time to market and cost in the capital markets industry. And really, there's 3 components to this. You're seeing on the screen. There's the underlying technology, which is based on the concept of microservices. People have probably heard that buzzword quite a lot now. We were really thought leaders in this 8 years ago when microservices wasn't a buzzword. So yeah, there's many different parts to that, which again, very specific to capital markets in some ways. Some parts very generic across the industry, data systems, complex event handling, all the way through to authorization, auditing, permission. And when you bring that together, we've got a complete low-code application platform, not just server side. What you're seeing here is also the UI, web development. Also, we have OpenFin applications, mobile applications. But fundamentally, the platform is highly scalable, highly resilient, extremely secure, because that's what's required within the capital markets industries. What we got on top of that, a number of business components, again, specific to our industry. You'll see in here, some people may recognize or not recognize these. Refinitiv is the rebranded Reuters. You've got Morningstar, again, great news reference data provider. So we've got lots of things specific to our industry, which help accelerate our solutions even quicker. And around all of that, we have a lot of tooling. And that tooling is really bring the whole thing to life and allow developers of any age, experience, and background to be able to build solutions and products on our low-code application without needing to know a lot of detailed technical understanding or expertise, but meanwhile know that the product and solution that's being delivered is applicable to capital markets and production ready from the get-go. So, and this video was actually produced by Mike at Ditto. So thanks for Ditto to produce it.
Thank you, and thank you very much. Excellent stuff. So I just want to stay on Genesis and just to wrap up a look under the covers there, and maybe for our audience, Stephen, you know, maybe just alliterate the difference between low code and no code, just so you know, just to maybe to highlight the advantages of low code over no code and the advantages of low code over I guess pro code and heavy code.
Yeah, good question, Mike. So I think we are predominantly, and where we enter the market is as a open quote LCAP, close quote, which stands for low code application platform. We do have no code tooling. So everything, we have a Genesis environment manager, which allows you to launch cloud infrastructure. We use Amazon, Google, Microsoft Azure. So we've got no code tooling, which allows you to do things without even having to go into a low code mode. What we do though is we do allow you to go into a low code mode. And what's something we're coining within the industry a new term, which we're calling pro code. And I'll explain what that means as well. So in low code, you can get into more of the Java, the Python, JavaScript, Angular. And what we do that so that people still, you've got lots of data scientists, for instance, that are coming out of universities, MBAs, a variety of online courses. And for instance, Python developers can still do lots of great integration with their Python APIs. You may have done lots of great analytics in Python. So if you don't have low code tooling to allow them a kind of a sandbox, if you want to call it that, to be able to get data in and out on top of our platform and do these data analytics or get sources of alternative data, we would be somewhat being restrictive of what the platform can do. So you can think of Genesis as a low code application platform, which also has no code tooling. We have a strategy around our no code tooling. But it also allows you that kind of blend of what we are trying to describe to the industry of pro code. You can get deeper into what the technology is, what the platform provides you. So there are low code and no code application platforms, both in our industry and outside of our industry, which are very much black boxes, and you can't see what's being built. Within our platform, we allow you, the developer and our clients, to have some depth within the platform to see actually what's happening underneath the covers. In some instances, we're allowing you to see that, so you've got confidence, but you cannot change it. And some instances, you can change it, and you can actually get more in detail for things which may be more latency sensitive, or maybe that you need more flexibility to integrate with internal data sources or alternative data sources that are available on the internet. And that really resonates with our clients. So that's come from something we wanted when we were in the industry. And as we built the company, built Genesis, built our LCAP, has continued to be a key demand of our clients in the industry as well.
And all this means, Stephen, delivering and developing stuff quicker. What's the kind of percentage acceleration time or cost or saving reduction folk can typically expect under development life cycles using the Genesis low-code platform and this approach?
Great question, Mike. We generally see when we've taken a sample set of projects both in this year already in the first quarter, last year in 2018, last 3-4 years to be honest, and we've seen at least 80% reduction in cost and time to market. Wow. What we've also seen is the type of projects we're doing and the type of products and solutions we're implementing actually more complex, because clients are coming to us to push our technology more and more. As we've continued to invest in the underlying platform, we've sustained, if not improved, that 80+% reduction in cost, time to market, and also not just the delivery aspect, but we've seen ultimately it's extremely resilient. We have, again, 0 outages. Our clients attest to that. So yeah, I would, to your original question, it's at least an 80% reduction in cost and time to market.
Wow. Well, I know you've got some use cases to share us in a moment, but if you go to the next slide, please, Mike. So Alexandra, same question really for OpenFin. I know you've got some thoughts to share with our audience here on the adoption of OpenFin. Then we've got a snazzy video as well. So next slide, please. You've just heard from Stephen here. Look, things are coming quicker, they're more complicated, more resilient, and a greater volume of them. So all these apps are coming to you thick and fast. What do you do with them?
Yeah, exactly. So I think you know, it's kind of what do you do with them? Where does OpenFin sit? Like how does OpenFin work, right? And what do these numbers really mean? So so at its core, you know, global banks, vendors, buy-side firms, really anyone building front-end applications are building these high-performance platforms that Stephen's mentioning, right? And running them on OpenFin instead of in a browser. And then, you know, connecting those applications to legacy systems, to third-party platforms, to other web applications using this OpenFin message bus. And so for, you know, for our technical audience here, you know, it's really important to know about OpenFin's architecture, and that, it's what we call a multi-runtime architecture. So this means that each application has the autonomy to control the version of OpenFin that it requires, but that integrations across multiple apps or multiple versions of OpenFin can still take place. So that's really kind of, you know, what's under the bonnet, how does this whole thing work? That's really kind of where OpenFin sits in the tech stack. Now, the stats you see here are really OpenFin customers deploying applications to their users. So those could be, that could be an internal desk, right? Or it could be external clients. So, you know, kind of bringing this to date, you know, in the new kind of COVID-19 world, I think we've all realized how quickly, you know, there's really no longer an option to not modernize the technology you're using in capital markets. You know, applications have to be accessible from anywhere. They need to be high performance. They need to be scalable. They need to be all of these things. And so that's really where, you know, cloud strategies and web technologies really come out on top. But, you know, the key thing here for us and kind of how we view the world and really what we've seen in the industry is that, you know, making the decision to use web technologies doesn't mean you have to lose the richness and the functionality or the complexity of the platform. You know, you really should be building modular web applications that can run independently and natively on the desktop and integrate. And, you know, really this way, each application, each component of an application can update at its own pace and not be slowed down by these big monolithic platform architectures. And then, you know, I view those, you know, the concept of these big, bulky, all-in-one platforms as kind of an old school way of building. And, you know, the future of building applications in finance are really building suites of smaller, highly functional, specialized applications for users and having those be integrated. So to that point, I brought a video here. It's
That's
about
right.
20 seconds.
Yeah,
so
next
everyone,
popcorn,
you know, get
moments.
your popcorn ready. But you'll see here, you know, this is an example of launching a saved workspace. There are 5 different applications. They're all independent, but connected over the OpenFin bus. You can see symbols being broadcasted and communicating with the FactSet applications and FactSet refreshing. And really, you can see the ability to launch new applications and kind of drive forward workflows. So I really just kind of wanted to bring something tangible, something visual to showcase the concept of, you know, streamlining workflows and leveraging the OpenFin, you know, message bus.
Sure. And to that end, Alexander, again, for some of our audience who maybe aren't familiar with OpenFin in that sense,
Sure.
Are firms now building out to the OpenFin OS? They're saying, actually, this is the best way to build this. This is the interoperability I need. This is the stuff I don't need to code that comes as an advantage on the OpenFin messaging bus. This is stuff I should focus my attention on. Is it helping folk who are developing software prioritize where their focus should be?
Yeah, absolutely. So the great news here is that when you're building a web application, when you're building an OpenFin application, you're really building a standards compliant web application, right? We adhere to web standards. We love standards. That's, you know, that's kind of a pillar when it comes to OpenFin. Now, what OpenFin allows you to do is start to really create differentiated products, right? So you can start to create these multi-window, you know, give your end users the ability to create tear out windows, have multi-monitor workspace management, and start that integration journey that you mentioned. And so the OpenFin message bus is so widely distributed that we started to create a standard to enable desktop interoperability across all of these different platforms. So we invented something called FDC3 about 2.5 years ago, I'd say. And FDC3 is really a messaging standard, a protocol for applications on the same desktop to securely discover one another and share context with one another and intents for that context. And so it's been great to see the industry really the appetite for that standard and to see, you know, how teams can now focus on product differentiation and not have to spend so much of their resource doing, you know, really heavy bespoke integrations on the back end.
Super. Lovely. Thank you very much. Well, if we go to the next slide, please. We're now, we're going to have a little chat about Genesis in action and some case studies that you want to highlight for our audience, Stephen. And then we'll finish up, then Alexander, with some look at OpenFin in action. So go to the next slide, please. This is, explain maybe to our audience who XP Investments are, first of all, Stephen, your relationship with them, and then take us through what the challenge was here, you know, how Genesis resolved that this, and what were the KPIs and the key indicators for what you delivered in terms to XP Investments. So over to you.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, so some background on XP Securities Investimentos. XP is based in Brazil. That's where their head office is, in Sao Paulo, but they've got offices all over the world: London, Miami, New York, amongst others. And they're really you can imagine them as the Charles Schwab of Brazil. They're the largest number of independent financial advisors, all the way through to have the highest volumes on the BMF-B3, which is the Brazilian Stock Exchange, and then the largest fixed income trading house in Brazil as well. So major firm and very well known in the industry as being a very technology orientated firm. So they like to build things a lot themselves in-house. So we engaged with them 3 years ago. They come to us very aware of our low-code application platform, had a number of challenges, predominantly and initially in their Miami office, in their wealth management area, as well as their post-trade operations. And they really needed an immediate solution to, as we went back to some of those business drivers on the first slide I spoke to, of business growth. They were seeing a lot of the Latin America market where investing internationally outside of Latin America. Therefore, they had challenges around capacity. And being a thought leader and also very technology driven, they wanted a technology partner to help them build capacity and build products which were not just in the front office, what we call front office in our industry, the wealth management space and trading, but all the way through to post-trade operations. So they initially become a client, and we've grown more and more with them, both in the US and the UK, as well as in Brazil. And where they really partner with Genesis is they actually come to us as a development partner. So we build on the low-code application platform. We deploy in the cloud, in our Genesis is actually in the Amazon cloud, in AWS, a complete platforms and products ranging from wealth management, independent financial advisor solutions, all the way through to multi-asset class confirmation allocation platforms to process those trades and give out confirms to their clients of what they've traded. So great strategic client for us globally.
Fantastic. And just to stay on XP, so Genesis went to fix one particular problem with helping automation and help with the productionization of some end user computing and some reporting snags. But you're now working across the enterprise in different areas, or have Genesis local platform been adopted in different parts of the business, Stephen? Or maybe just chat about your journey with XP across different user.
Of course, I'll answer that, and I'll also answer one thing you did mention beforehand was KPIs and metrics.
Yeah.
So we've as mentioned, we started in the wealth management space and post-trade operations. We expanded very quickly with them. We have as clients see our ability to deliver in that reduced time to market. Our first product we built for them, we had it from the point of discussing the solution they needed. We were live within 2 weeks. So when you're thinking of days and weeks versus months and years, and then we've expanded across asset classes. So for people within our industry, they'll be very aware of this, that our industry's had very siloed asset class type technologies, and even the business lines, to be honest. You have an FX business that's somewhat siloed from the equity trading business, which is siloed from the loan lending business through to the treasury fixed income market. So we landed and expanded with them very quickly. That went from across the horizontal business units, across the actual vertical asset classes. So if you look at their international business, whether or not it's their compliance area, wealth management, all the way through to post-trade operations, across asset classes, we have solutions running for them. I think it's over 9 different instances now of major pieces of functionality. When coming back to your KPIs and metrics, I think their metric was we needed it yesterday. So the metric, our metric was, and I'm sure Alexandra will know that story. You generally come in a time of need, and what we've done is we've always been able to exceed their expectations in being able to deliver in those days and weeks. Be very interactive, not needing a major 100-page specification, but very iteratively, quickly working through with XP as a client what they need and how they need it. And the low-code application platform lends itself to that you can what we call fail quickly. So you can very quickly test an idea, know it's production ready, and say, well, actually, what I needed was that, but I also needed this. Well, that's not exactly the way I'm thinking it now. I can see it on paper. That may be what I wanted, but now I've seen it. Actually, it would be great if it also done this or it done this in a slightly different way.
Right, so it's like an iterative process of development. Because you kind of narrowed the gap between tech and business, you can have a much quicker turnaround and make it much more iterative.
Correct, and what we call truly agile. So obviously a number of people on the call will be used to this word agile, where you have a weekly stand-up, but really that's just a process, a methodology as such. But really with the technology, you compress a huge amount of time, whether or not it's requirements gathering, all the way through to the actual development, all the way through to deployment, and actually when it's actually in production, managing that deployment. So what we would call truly iterative and agile and fail quickly.
Oh, fantastic. Love it. So I'm moving on to the next slide, please, Mike. So OpenFin, Alexandria, you got a few pieces to chat our audience through here. One, you've got a high level of 2 or 3 examples, and you got a specific one with Barclays. So next slide, please. And Alexandra, take us through a quick journey on some use cases for OpenFin solutions, please.
Yeah, I actually, for continuity, Mike, if you'd go to the next slide first, just because Stephen kind of sparked that concept of failing quickly and failing fast. So so there's really kind of 3 use cases for OpenFin. One's focused on deployment, one's a desktop strategy, and the last one's a migration to web. And this Barclays release that came out last week, 2 weeks ago, I think showcases that ability to migrate, from an older technology stack to web in an iterative manner and start to introduce new components and new visualization tools, and not have to do big bang rewrites of everything. And there's this concept of human to hybrid that stands out in my mind that I've been hearing over and over again. And really what this is there's all of these emerging technologies. How do we make the user more informed and more efficient? And where do these new technologies meet that user? And so we've seen, a lot of our clients be really successful in this modular approach to architecture where they can evaluate new technology really quickly. So Daniel Narin from Barclays made the comment to fail fast on their journey, and it was in the Waters article that went with this case study. And I really love that: fail quickly, fail fast, because previously introducing new products or integrations would be really big projects that would take a long time, and when they would go live, they might not even be useful. And so using web technologies, using OpenFin, things like low-code platforms allow you to make these things happen quick, easy, and cheaply. And that's really how you get to best of breed, a best of breed world. So if you go to the slide previously, I'll just give you those 2 other buckets super fast, Mike.
No, it's okay. Great.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So I mentioned that the other 2 use cases really are, the first one's around deployment. And in this instance, FactSet and BNP Cortex and Luminex are great examples of platforms being deployed to their external clients and wanting that seamless delivery, that enhanced performance, and the ability to differentiate themselves on that client desktop. And that's really why they choose OpenFin. The other use case is really a desktop strategy, and that's kind of what that video, that kind of 20-second teaser video, starts to demonstrate. But I think RBC has done a really incredible job, streamlining the workflows of their credit desk using OpenFin. So, so I thought I'd kind of throw, a couple of examples on the board to see if anything sticks, and kind of just have some touchstones here.
Super, that's great. And Alexandra, just to return to these case studies now. I mean, Genesis, an 80% acceleration time in app delivery. What type of KPIs and benefits and metrics do you associate to OpenFin? And when you're sitting down with someone that's going to either put their software delivered through OpenFin bus, or someone deploying OpenFin, what type of ROI and return are you typically talking about?
Yeah, I mean, from a deployment standpoint, we've seen, so we've had a couple, we have a couple of trading platforms that that use OpenFin solely for their deployment of those platforms, and they said that they've seen, up to a 60% reduction in support tickets, which, as you know, can become a burden. Now, if you choose deployment via OpenFin, it means you remove all your external dependencies with that's out there in the wild. So you don't have to do cross-browser compatibility testing anymore. You get to take that time back into your development resources and put it focused on product and not in kind of testing and QA. And so, because OpenFin's really this flexible environment, we've seen a lot of different KPIs from a lot of different people, but it's always a bit subjective. But yeah, I mean, we really just help streamline the delivery and the functionality of next gen platforms.
And so, look, these are unprecedented times that we're working through individually and collectively as a market. Are you seeing a shift in your customers now and your clients thinking about accelerating transformation? I mean, you touched on it earlier, Stephen, that end user computing, when people move from BCP to BAU, that now is to be deindustrialized, Stephen. So what would you say, advice would you give out to folk out there who wanted to figure out more about low code and deploying that now in terms of their digital transformation strategy?
Is that to me or Stephen?
Well, I was going to go to Stephen. I was going to ask you the same question, but both. I'm interested for both of your perspective, Alexandra and Stephen, just in terms of what we're working through at the moment and firms reappraising their digital transformation strategies.
Yeah,
everyone's working a lot on their own, but yeah, if you jump in and then we'll turn to Stephen, please.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think the COVID-19, it's definitely a catalyst, and it's just this. It's definitely a shift in operating models, but I think it really does just enforce that digital transformation is a priority. And we're seeing across all the global banks and the large buy sides and vendors that use OpenFin, that push to make sure that you're creating responsive, highly functional, and specialized applications for various user groups. So we're seeing a shift to making sure you're not building, single platforms that have all the bells and whistles, but a user might use a fraction of the functionality, to creating suites of highly functional, more kind of curated to that persona use cases. And so I think that's just a part of digital transformation. It's people realizing that there's an appetite, that people want something more customized. And that shouldn't mean you have to build an entire tech stack every time you're building a new application. You can start to reuse code, reuse components, and just bring these things together at the user level.
Super, fantastic. And Stephen, and you to come in on that point there on people are praising low code application delivery as part of their digital transformation in these COVID times.
Yeah, I think Alexandra just to add to Alexandra to not repeat, I think something else which is really interesting during these times and on low-code application platforms is server infrastructure, cloud infrastructure being open quote serverless, close quote. So one of the things that people really embracing us for, apart from all the things that I mentioned earlier and also Alexandra mentioned, is that they know firms need to jump into using the cloud. There's been appetite. People have discussed it in the past. A lot of our clients are on that journey already. But one great thing is by moving to specifically in this case, Genesis is on our low-code application platform. They can actually go agile in one step. They actually go to low-code application in that same step, and they also go cloud in the same step. So that move into the cloud has also been something which has been a key area for us that during this coronavirus pandemic that we've seen has been another driver, or it's always been there that you get that cloud hop at the same time, but it's been actually something which is seen as another massive benefit and win to our clients by being able to move to the Genesis LCAP. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up
Absolutely.
serverless. There's been a few questions that have come in on serverless, which I hope we'll catch up on a digital hangout now as soon as we finish it, because we're finishing here in a moment, folks, but the party's not over yet. We're going to hang out in the digital hangout. I don't know where the time has gone. I've really enjoyed this session. The last 45 minutes has flown by. So to round off, could we have one closing comment from Stephen and Alexandra? And we'll start with you, Alexandra. If there's one thing you would like the audience to take away from today's discussion, what would that be?
Yeah, I think, for us, we'd love to connect with anyone in the audience that is, is building front end applications, whether you're starting from maybe a .NET or a Java footprint, maybe you're considering a cloud strategy and what does that mean? Maybe you're thinking about creating a customer kind of client technology strategy with some analytics, really, we'd love to, be connected with you and discuss how the industry is leveraging OpenFin and how we can support you. We're also generating a bunch of webinars. We had one yesterday with MUFG and Ernst & Young. We have one today at 3 o'clock with FactSet, although today is TechCity Connect Day, so you can always get the recording on our events page of our website. But really, we're just excited about the transformation that's taking place in the industry and how the industry is using OpenFin. So we're looking forward to continuing that and pushing forward.
Super, thank you very much. And Stephen, same question. You one thing for the audience to take away from this part of the presentation here?
Yeah, just think that ultimately there's Genesis, the Genesis LCAP, which has been built for capital markets, but also predominantly is very applicable across other industries, whether or not it's healthcare, manufacturing, and ultimately there'll be more and more coming from us in terms of what Genesis does. So watch the space. The final thing, which it always seems we have to do in the new COVID world, I think the most important thing, more than Genesis LCAP, is probably stay safe, stay well. So if I only get one thing, Mike, it's stay safe and stay well.
That's absolutely super. So look, many thanks to our panel for sharing your insights. Really a fantastic talk, and to my colleagues at Tisha for bringing this event to mind. Well done, Mike Richardson, and all the video hopping back and forth. That was really seamless. So to find a little bit more about what we do at Ditto, please visit ditto.tv. All the digits are for Stephen and Alexandra. Another inbox is always open. They'd love to hear from you. So this session is being recorded, and a link will be shared via email. And for more information or a copy of today's slides, get in touch, drop us an email to control@ditto.tv. On screen now, you will see the other panels and events that we have happening throughout the day. If you've missed anything that happened prior today, that's all been recorded, all be published next week. Our official charity for TechCity Connect is Mind, a charity that ensures no one has to face mental health problems alone. So TechCity Connect is a free event featuring people giving up their time to share their knowledge and insights. So Angie, you can donate, would be really appreciated and make a big difference. Go to all the ditto.tv/mind to donate. And I was even to say, if you now, next page, visit us, I'm going to whisk Stephen and Alexandra away. If you click on ditto.tv/TCC, you go straight to the digital hangout, and all those questions are coming in. You can meet Alexandra, meet Stephen, and the other team at Ditto, and we can all chat about their panel there. Just to say thank you very much for attending. I really enjoyed it, Stephen and Alexandra. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Mike.
I'll see you at ditto.tv/TCC now in the digital hangout. I'll see you there.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.